Pain is not knowing whether or not you can continue doing something you love more than anything else on the face of this earth.
And now the only question was, could he make it around the base paths unassisted?
Pain. We all know it. But athletes deal with it constantly.
The coach told me one time that I don't expect you to play injured, but I expect you to play with pain.
They inflict it.
I'm trying to hurt him. As sadistic as it might sound, you have to, because it's either you or him.
They play with it.
You don't want to come out and say, hey, well, I'm hurt, that's why I'm doing bad, because you kind of lose respect that way a little bit.
They'll do nearly anything to get rid of it.
He had this, I think it was a whalebone, and he'd scrape the back of my neck really fast, and what I thought was really hard, it was excruciating.
But in the end, most simply must live with it.
I've got no left hip. My right one is on its way out. I've got no right leg. 40-year-old man in an 80-year-old body.
Tonight, how athletes and their teams cope with the constant reality of pain. Outside the lines, no pain, no game. As well as we think we know the athletes we follow, we really have no concept of the pain that underscores the highlights they give us every day. When Michelle Akers retired last month from international soccer, she detailed the constant intravenous treatments, the pain medications, the ice packs, the athletic tape, all of which she needed simply to take the field. Elite athletes do have an uncommon will to succeed, and as Lisa Salters reports, so often that will is needed simply to play with their pain.
Everybody hates pain.
Sador's literally crawling to the front of the net.
But there are people who block it out, and there are people that are able to deal with it.
Well, Mateen figures this is his final game. He's got to play through everything.
There are people who are good, then there are people who are great, and then there are people who are really great. And what they become great at is being able to block out pain.
And now the only question was, could he make it around the base paths unassisted?
Now I go back to my childhood, watching Willis Reed limp out there. What blocked it out for him that allowed him to deal with that?
I think we see Willis coming out. There he comes right now.
It was an opportunity that may not ever come again, and you should not pass that opportunity up.
In Game 7 of the 1970 NBA Finals, few remember that Willis Reed scored 4 points and pulled down 3 rebounds. What they do remember is how severely injured he was when he did it. In the generation since Reed persevered through the pain of an injured thigh, the question remains, how much pain can an athlete endure?
Growing up in the culture that they do, their pain threshold and how they interpret pain is much different than most other people. So therefore, things that you and I would say is painful and perceive as painful, they don't.
The coach told me one time that you had to know the difference between pain and injury. And he told me, he said, I don't expect you to play injured, but I expect you to play with pain.
The pursuit of Olympic glory is what inspired one of the most courageous performances in sports history. Japanese gymnast Shun Fujimoto dismounted from the rings, knowing he would have to land on his badly broken leg. It was why his team defeated the Soviets for the gold.
Pain simply gets in the way for many athletes. They have to concentrate their attention beyond it and continue to work toward whatever goal they have in spite of it.
The list of athletes who have reached great heights while enduring great pain is almost endless. In 1964, Bobby Vaughn helped the Maple Leafs win a Stanley Cup while also playing with a broken leg. And who could forget Kellen Winslow's 1982 performance against the Dolphins?
I get hit in the shoulder, my shoulder would go numb. I'd have to come out the ball game. I had stitches in my lip from getting hit in the mouth. Didn't want to lose. Did not want to lose. And I felt that the best chance we had of winning was me being a part of that team on that field.
Someone will get hurt, get teeth knocked out, and they'll say, he's a hockey player, he will return. Those are guys you want to go to battle with every night. You don't want a guy that's going to, get a little stomach flu and be pulling the chute.
Another reason why athletes play through the pain is job security. They know that no matter how good they are, there is always someone on the sidelines waiting to take their place.
Players are being paid a lot of money to play, not to sit on the bench or not to sit in the whirlpool. We used to have this saying, hey, you can't make the club in the tub.
You came back before you should have, for the simple reason there was about 8 or 9 guys looking over your shoulder waiting for your job.
The best doctor you can have is the guy that's your backup, who comes in and plays for you when you're not in there, and you go out there and you watch him lighten it up, and you're like, I got to get back in there.
But the line between playing with pain and playing at risk is a fine one. Not knowing the difference could potentially end an athlete's career. Grant Hill knew the difference after he attempted to play on an injured ankle in the first round of this year's NBA playoffs. He ultimately allowed himself to be taken out of the game.
You have times where, your calves are sore, your ankle is sore, your knee, whatever. You still want to try to grind it out. And looks like I did grind it out.
The danger of grinding it out became all too real for Astros closer Billy Wagner. After gutting out the end of last season with an injured elbow, Wagner tried to do the same this year. Why? He says he didn't want to lose the respect of his teammates.
I couldn't really say nothing to anybody else because the doctors had said, pitch through it, you'll be fine. And so I didn't want to use my elbow as a little crutch, an excuse or something like that.
The result was disastrous for Wagner. After tallying the most saves in Astros history in 1999, he promptly blew 9 of 15 save opportunities this year.
You're out there, you're pitching, you suck, and the next thing you know, they go, well, yeah, he sucks, but he's trying to get out of it by saying he's hurt.
But it just shows you that, somebody's character when they go out there and don't say nothing. They just take the heat and just say, hey, I'm just going to try to go out there and keep playing hard and fix it.
For Billy, that character came at a high cost. Instead of going on the DL for a few weeks, he had to have surgery on his elbow in June and will miss the rest of the season. For most athletes, pain does not lead to the end of a season. In fact, it becomes as much a part of the game and their lives as winning and losing.
Well, you don't get to see what happens when Junior goes home. Junior can't even pass the ketchup to his little daughter. When Junior gets up in the morning, he can't feel his right side.
There's been times where you'll throw a pitch and you'll be like, but yeah, it's the mentality I think us as athletes have is I'm going to go as hard as I can for as long as I can, and if something happens, well, at least I'm out here doing it.
Sometimes wisdom wins out over bravado, and athletes rely on their team's doctors and trainers to decide how much pain is too much.
I have never met in 30 years a professional or amateur athlete who did not know the difference between what they could play with and what they really couldn't play with. The pain that we can play with, teams have become very good at managing that pain.
I think there's pain that you can probably play through. Whether they should be, that's not for me to determine. Whether they should be, it's sort of up to them and us, the medical staff, to decide whether or not it's not going to affect him the next week or later on in life.
And if you don't play, you're no different than the fans in the stands, according to most athletes. So even with a few bumps and bruises, or even aches and breaks, the game will go on.
That's just the nature, I guess, of human beings. We want to push our brains and our knowledge and our culture to the limit, to find out what the limit is, and this extends to human performance.
The difference is this is not a question of survival. This is a question of entertainment, sport, and profession. It's how people make their living.
They're cleat marks from linemen, offensive linemen. That's part of the flesh leaving you. Yeah, definitely. When something like that happens, you can feel some pain. But when I'm done and I hang up my helmet and I look back at it, I'd probably say, you were a fool. Right now, playing with pain for Junior is a must.
When Outside the Lines continues.
It's not that some people like pain, but some people get a rush from the pain.
I use the term orgasmic. That was part of the rush, not just inflicting it, but being able to endure it and being able to handle it and still being able to go on,
Mr. 1-800-CALL-ATT for collect calls is his name. Saving big bucks is his game.
It's the same low rate every minute, everywhere. C-A-L-L-A-T-T.
1-800-CALL-ATT for collect calls.
Now there's more reasons than ever to join AOL.
If I knew it was this easy, I would have started a long time ago.
There's an 800 number that you can call 24 hours a day.
On AOL, your privacy and security are always protected. There's no better time to join. America Online. So easy to use, no wonder it's #1.
The largest airline on Earth isn't an airline. It's 14. Make that 15 airlines working together to make international travel easier.
On video cassette and DVD.
He is tearing this team apart.
Well, then you hold it together.
Newsweek calls Any Given Sunday the most bone-crushing, earth-shaking game of football ever put on film. Any Given Sunday. Buy or rent it today on DVD.
It's a new concept in light beer. 103 calories from different walks of life, coming together for the sake of the team. Introducing crisp, easy-drinking Beck's Light.
Discover the amazing training secrets of Baseball World's dynamic practice organization video, featuring professional scout and instructor Tommy Mansky and his famous step-by-step building block approach to athletic training. These are the same techniques that have produced Baseball World's back-to-back-to-back AAU national championship teams. Parents, players, and coaches are amazed at the rapid improvement of students using these principles, enhancing arm strength, running speed, quickness, and agility. Dynamic practice organization works for all ages and levels of ability and makes a great gift too. Order now.
Hey, Lou, good-looking place. But if you want more energy on the field, you gotta have more energy in your music. Well, that's good stuff. Hey, by the way, pull your tackle a little bit deeper. Good luck.
Outside the Lines, no pain, no gain, is presented by 1-800-CALL-ATT.
You're known as a guy, a tough guy who can to dish out pain and can handle a lot of pain. You're going to get a lot of respect around the league.
I'm trying to hurt him. Yeah, I'm trying to hurt him. And as sadistic as it might sound, you have to, because it's either you or him.
This is football. This is legalized, you know, fighting, legalized boxing, just everything.
Dying by hands, brutally dying is what your option is.
Basically, my goal on every play. If I could take him out for the game, you know, knock him out, break an arm, a couple ribs, I'm all for that.
Perhaps as much as anyone else in NFL history, former free safety Chuck Cecil knew how to dish out pain. He was fined a then unprecedented $30,000 7 years ago in a single game for hits on tight end Ron Middleton and running back Ricky Irvins.
I use the term orgasmic. That was part of the rush, not just inflicting it, but being able to endure it and being able to handle it and still being able to go on, you know.
Brian Marchman's game is to try to hurt people. It always has been.
It's awesome. Like, for me, it's like scoring a goal.
Here we go again.
What does it feel like to you when you've knocked an opponent out?
It makes you say, ah! You be like, I got him.
Do you enjoy it all, inflicting pain on an opponent?
Love it. Love it. That's what we practice to do.
The mentality of athletes we spoke to whose sole purpose is to hit hard and to make their opponents pay with pain say they don't want to permanently injure anyone. Undisputed light heavyweight champion Roy Jones Jr., in fact, is known for encouraging referees to stop his fights before he seriously injures his opponent.
Are you the only boxer in the world who doesn't like to see his opponent in excruciating pain?
I like to see him at that point sometime now. I don't care to see him like that after the fight is over. I just want to see it briefly, just to know that I did my job.
Martial arts expert George Chung is employed by the 49ers, in part to help players deal with pain. His most successful pupil was Hall of Fame safety Ronnie Lott, who took training for pain to a new level.
7.
In his workouts, in order to learn how to block out pain during a game, Lott had Chung hit him with a bamboo stick. This went on up to 6 hours every week for 15 years.
George would take a stick and one of the bamboo sticks and beat me. He'd have me do, 1,000 push-ups. And then after I did 1,000 push-ups, then he'd come and beat me and just beat me up. Just have me stand there and just get beat up.
You learn to respect the opponent's ability. If it happens to be a weapon, you learn to respect the weapon. And the same applies in football. You learn to respect your opponent's ability that he can inflict pain on you.
He broke me a couple of times. He broke me. And therefore, when I played football, I didn't know what pain was.
And although it is better to give than to receive, those who inflict pain on others know they'll be in pain themselves. It's how they view that pain that sets them apart.
And Matthew Barnaby is thumped down to the deck.
I remember getting my teeth knocked out and having the blood dripping all over the place, and you actually don't feel it. You don't feel it till the next day. It's a weird feeling. And everyone always asks, how do you play? How do you play with that kind of pain? And like I said, you don't feel it. I think you train yourself not to feel the pain because winning is the most important thing. And even though I had it happen, I still wanted to fight the guy even though I had no teeth.
It's not that some people like pain, but some people get a rush from the pain because it sends through the body chemicals, endorphins, adrenaline that you can't have anywhere else than you can when you actually make physical contact.
When you wake up and you can't even remember your name, you can't remember the name of your wife or your friend, you can't remember your children. That's scary.
When we continue.
If you suffer from any of these health problems, a relaxing, affordable Craftmatic adjustable bed with built-in massage and soothing heat may provide the temporary relief from pain you've been looking for. Call toll-free now so we can mail you our free information pack. Inside are facts about the Craftmatic Model 2 that costs hundreds less than many quality flatbeds, and the Craftmatic Model 3 that is 50% less than the Model 2's low cost. 50% less. Call now and we'll also mail you this special free $200 off rebate certificate. It's good for $200 off the Craftmatic Model 1 bed of your choice. Don't suffer needlessly. Get the facts about the affordable adjustable beds that may provide temporary relief. Call for this helpful free money-saving information right away. There's absolutely no obligation.
Call 1-800-544-1000 toll-free. That's 1-800-544-1000. Call toll-free 1-800-544-1000.
Now you can own Men in Black DVD. And if you enter the Men in Black sweepstakes, you can win a walk-on part for MIB2 or other great prizes. Answer this week's sweepstakes question, what is Will Smith's MIB name? To enter, watch ESPN NFL Sundays at 11 a.m. Eastern. Buy USA Today or log on to usatoday.com or mail into this address. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited. Additional terms and restrictions apply. Sweepstakes subject to official sweepstakes rules available at usatoday.com or in USA Today. All entries must be received by 11:59 p.m. on September 20th, 2000.
6 years ago, only 2 NFL clubs, the Steelers and the Jets, administered neuropsychological testing to their players. Today, more than 20 teams give those tests. There is an increased focus on concussions in all sports, especially in football, where the Players Union has funded one study and the league has formed a medical committee to study a problem labeled mild traumatic brain injury. As Andrea Kramer tells us, for at least one player, the focus on the problem has come far too late.
Joe Lavender was a cornerback with the Eagles and Redskins from 1973 to 1983. Nicknamed Big Bird, he was a 2-time Pro Bowler and a Super Bowl champion, not to mention a favorite of his former coach.
He had a very winning personality. I mean, he's one of those guys when you're around, you just enjoy being around Joe Lavender, and I felt like he was a very valuable team guy and a very good person.
Lavender was also a highly intelligent person, a man with a master's degree. But today, his psychiatrist says he's a shadow of his former self.
I don't believe with the kind of intellectual ability he has today, he would have made it to college. His attention span is short, his concentration is poor, and his ability to deal with ideas is minimal.
What happened to Joe Lavender? Over his decade-long career, he estimated he suffered at least a dozen concussions. The worst one occurred on September 9th, 1977.
You know, Joe was injured right where his helmet comes down, and it was a violent hit.
When you wake up and you can't even remember your name, you can't remember the name of your wife or your friend, you can't remember your children. That's scary.
Lavender was briefly knocked unconscious and returned for one series. After the game, he passed out and was hospitalized. He later reported a 76-hour period of amnesia.
The concussion took me out of it for a while. There was a difference. I'm more than sure.
What were the differences?
Headaches, trouble sleeping, and then falling off to sleep at the wrong places.
Lavender did not hold a full-time job after retiring from the Redskins in 1983. At his lowest point, he was broke and wandering the streets of San Diego.
There were times when I had to clean toilets and work to make a few ends meet. But that was no problem. It was just a matter of doing it.
Lavender and Willis were told that Joe suffered from significant post-concussive brain injury, which could be attributed to football. So in January 1995, they applied for total and permanent disability benefits from the NFL Players Retirement Fund.
They can identify with cuts on the knees, broken shoulders, or fingers badly deranged or whatever. But they cannot see inside of that head. Then that's a very difficult thing.
This was the first ever claim that linked head trauma caused as an active player to mental incapacity. Numerous psychiatrists and neurologists examined Lavender to prove this connection.
What was Joe like when you first met him in 1995?
He very much looked like the patients I see in my clinic for the homeless. He was somebody who was not making decisions for himself, needed help and support in every one of his activities at home or in the society, had lost his wife, had lost his money, and was destitute.
Dr. Rodrigo Munoz is the past president of the American Psychiatric Association. The NFL sent Lavender to Munoz for a neutral evaluation.
Joe first suffered a concussion in 1977. Did he have any psychiatric problems prior to that?
We have tried to investigate that as closely as we can with a number of witnesses. We are fairly clear that before 1977, he was functioning normally.
Joe Lavender is 51 years old and endured a long and difficult struggle to win lifetime financial support. The NFL awarded him a high six-figure settlement plus a monthly benefit. But Lavender was rendered incompetent to make financial decisions, so Dr. Willis serves as the conservator of his estate. Lavender also lives at the home of Jack Willis.
He's never going to be normal. I mean, if there is such a thing as normal. Joel will always need, I think, a certain degree of support.
When I talked to your doctor, he told me that the concussions, which have triggered a lot of the other problems that you've had, could cut years off of your life.
Yeah, he told me that, and unfortunately, that's a part of it. So, I'm hoping they won't. But, if I leave before time, I don't think I know. But I'm a believer that life is eternal. So I won't. Maybe it was a reason for it.
When Outside the Lines continues.
The role of alternative medicine is yet to be defined in professional sports because there's really so little concrete knowledge in that field. I think that it's something that really should be studied and evaluated.
ATT man? Oh, he's our son. Such a good boy. Always let us know where he was by calling us collect with 1-800-CALL-ATT.
Even as a baby, he was very smart. He was always on the phone, always calling his sweeties.
Click calling. Call it a job.
He was always like, dial down the center. What's up with that?
He was obsessed with dialing down the center. CALLATT.
For the same low rate every minute, everywhere, dial 1-800-CALL-ATT for collect calls.
Change is everywhere in the world of business, which is okay until change comes crashing at your feet. Well, that's why you call Fast Signs, where from banners to building signs to window graphics, our sign solutions tell people who you are and what you do. Or rather, what you do today.
Flat TV from Philips. A new way to look at television.
College football Saturday. The Spartans are on the attack.
The Spartans' T.J. Duckett. He's big, he's fast, he's a nightmare for Big Ten defenses.
College game day at 11. Marshall versus Michigan State at noon. Saturday on ESPN.
When you're hurting, you'll try almost anything to alleviate the pain. And increasingly, to the tune of $30 billion a year, Americans are turning to alternative therapies, with athletes often leading the way. For example, Tiger Woods and Jack Nicklaus are among a number of pro golfers who use magnet therapy, believing it helps their circulation. Steve Delson now looks at the move to treatments outside the medical mainstream.
St. John Smith is one of the legendary figures in professional beach volleyball. Smith, who still competes at age 43, took anti-inflammatory medicine for 10 years to relieve the chronic pain in his right elbow. He had no idea how severe the side effects would be.
I'd get into a tournament and I'd go into a cold sweat in the middle of the day. Couldn't figure out that. I'd turn pale. And finally, I went and had some tests done, and they said, yeah, you've lost 10% of your red blood. What are you doing? And we figured out it was the anti-inflammatories that were eating up my stomach and causing me to bleed internally.
For years, traditional pain remedies were limited to anti-inflammatories, painkillers, physical therapy, and as a last resort, surgery. But today, Smith and a growing number of top professional athletes are turning to alternative pain relief methods.
We have to preface this with, I'm not a magnet freak. I think that the concept of the magnets drawing blood and creating better circulation to an area in which is sore makes sense to me. I just put it on, and I don't know whether it works or not, but I know in my mind I think it works, and that's good enough.
In addition to magnets, acupuncture has become another of the more popular alternatives, used by superstars such as Shaquille O'Neal, Mark McGuire, Pete Sampras, and Jaromir Jagr. But some athletes have gotten even bolder in their quest to ease their pain and shorten recovery time from injuries.
There's a lot of things out there that the FDA hasn't approved that players try because, hey, you need something to get you back a little bit faster than just the regular stuff that people have been using for the last 20 years.
I have skepticism about new drugs that come out, even with FDA approval. Some of them end up killing people and they take them off the market. I'm not against alternative medicine. I think it has its place, but I do think there's a lot of quacks out there that are peddling stuff that's really not very good.
In the late 1980s, St. John Smith became a convert to alternative therapies when anti-inflammatories and other conventional methods failed to heal an injured elbow that had plagued him for a decade.
Something was going on with my neck. It became very, very stiff. It was affecting my shoulder and my back. So I went to a Chinese doctor, and he did a couple things that blew me away. To increase the blood flow in the area, he had this, I think it was a whalebone or something, this flat bone, and he'd scrape the back of my neck really fast, and what I thought was really hard, it was excruciating. And another thing he did along with that was he made tiny little pinpricks right over the area of pain, and then he had this suction thing, and he would suck out the blood, and then he showed me what it looked like. and it looked like red Jell-O. So he got rid of that, and probably a week, 2 weeks after he did it, I had the movement back in my neck, and I couldn't explain it.
In the world of beach volleyball, a player like St. John Smith feels free to experiment with alternative medicine. But when players in major team sports seek alternative therapy, they may encounter resistance.
I can speak for myself, and I managed to work with a professional basketball team here in New York for a very brief period of time, and I felt some resistance from the medical staff at large. For whatever reasons, I'm not sure.
Ming Chu is a licensed physical therapist with a degree in chemistry from Columbia University. One of Chu's former patients is New York Knicks veteran Larry Johnson, who has a history of chronic back and knee problems. Chu performed his deep massage technique for 2 sessions before the Knicks said they no longer required his services.
The medical staff, they're human beings, they're very territorial, and sometimes they don't want outsiders to mess around with their thing because it's their ball players. And call it ego, call it whatever, but the end result is that the ball players often don't get other type of therapy.
Critics say team doctors often feel pressure from owners and coaches to rush a player back into action as quickly as possible. In 1990, an episode involving a neck injury to former Raider defensive back Mike Harden caused team physician Robert Huizenga to resign under protest.
It became very clear that his health and his potential paralysis was less important than a meeting of the undefeated Chicago Bears and the then undefeated Los Angeles Raiders.
4 years after he resigned, Huizenga authored You're Okay, It's Just a Bruise, which exposed another questionable practice in NFL medical treatment, the pressure on injured players not to get second opinions.
When the Raiders players wanted a second opinion, they would come to me and we'd get them a second opinion. It was just that sometimes we couldn't notify anyone, and we had to keep it secret. With some injuries, we had what we called the underground railroad system of trying to get people out to, get other opinions.
While officials from the Raiders and the NFL declined to be interviewed for this story, the culture is changing as more teams reconsider their medical policies, giving their players new options in the process. For example, the New York Giants are conducting a team study of SAMI, a non-FDA-approved food supplement that reportedly helps regenerate cartilage. Already tested in Europe, it could have a notable impact on knee injuries and arthritis.
The anti-inflammatories, as we know them, merely kill pain and inflammation. But in the end, they often cause further cartilage damage to the joint. SAMI doesn't have the anti-inflammatory effect.
Having been there, done that through the injury course, if there's something that I can take or do, such as now we have this study called SAME, which is supposed to be good for your cartilage and everything, supposedly regrowth and that kind of stuff, you try it, just because you've got to get back out there.
The role of alternative medicine is yet to be defined in professional sports because there's really so little concrete knowledge in that field. I think that it's something that really should be studied and evaluated.
When I had tried basically all the conventional methods, the orthopedic surgeons and the therapists, and didn't have any success with that, then you're forced to try what we thought at that time were crazy things, and what we now realize are actually smart things. And from that experience I had, I'm wide open to anything.
I've had 16 concussions. I've had 12 broken noses, a broken cheekbone, cracked sternum, 38 broken ribs, and 4 separated shoulders. That's the biggest residual pain I've got today.
When we continue.
Clear bottle, so you can make sure there's none of that hijinks and funny business going on inside. Introducing crisp, easy drinking Beck's Light.
I love strawberries.
I love you.
Mozzarella, luscious toppings, a fresh baked crust. You invited a pizza delivery guy here? What kind of girl do you think I am?
But it's not delivery, it's DiGiorno. For fresh baked pizza at home, it's not delivery, it's DiGiorno.
I'll call you.
In anticipation of your runaway success as a Wall Street Journal reader, how to blend in with normal people. When in public, walking a pet can help you blend in. A tip on being madly successful from the Wall Street Journal, full of insight on making it big. Subscribe to the Journal for just 57 cents a day for 13 weeks, 25% off the regular rate. The Wall Street Journal. Call 800-249-1800. That's 800-249-1800.
We have a lot of Sports Center traditions. The annual slumber party seems to draw the most people.
Hi-ho to Mario, the farmer in the dell.
Rich is by far the cutest.
Isaac? Why don't you marry him then?
Hello? Is your refrigerator running?
What?
You should chase it.
It's dark. It's crowded. It can get really out of hand.
Light as a feather, stiff as a board. Light as a feather, stiff as a board.
Michael Andretti holds the lead in the race for the kart crown. But can he fend off the competition and handle the famous corkscrew turn on the coastal mountains of California? The Honda Grand Prix of Monterey, Sunday at 3 on ESPN.
There are individual stories, some of them tragic, but there is no scientific proof that the violence of pro football actually shortens the life expectancy of former players. What does seem irrefutable is that the men who throw their spirit and their bodies into the game pay for it painfully with their quality of life and well before they are old men.
There's no one who comes out of this league unscathed. It's a very violent sport, and it's violent for every player who gets on the field.
I've got no left hip. My right one is on its way out. I've got no right leg.
I couldn't throw a football or a baseball now 20 yards. I used to be able to throw them over 80 yards. It's just so painful. I can't lift the arm up in a position to throw.
Shoulders feel decent unless I fall asleep with the arm over the head. Then it takes about 5 minutes to get the blood flowing again in the shoulder.
In the NFL, speed and power collide on nearly every play, over 100 times each game. While the immediate impact is devastating, the after effects can linger and fester long after a player's career.
I've had 16 concussions. I've had 12 broken noses, a broken cheekbone, cracked sternum, 38 broken ribs, and 4 separated shoulders. That's the biggest residual pain I've got today.
I broke an arm. I can't straighten my elbow out. Several neck injuries where your whole arm or side would go numb.
But for Kurt Marsh, the most debilitating pain came after he injured his right ankle playing for the Oakland Raiders in the early 1980s.
Flew down from Seattle, was so excited to see him. He met me and he was dragging his leg. I mean, it was just like it was this club. We went up to the hotel room, and there he is lying on the bed in agony. You could hear him moaning and groaning.
I kept saying, this is getting worse. There's got to be something else wrong. They said, no, you're just hurt. It's not injured. It's probably a ligament.
He was taking multiple pain-killing shots, which we know is a no-no because that turns off the body's alarm system, and then you continue to play on an injured joint, especially a weight-bearing joint.
I cannot remember one instance where I sat down in a medical consult with the doctor, the orthopedic doctors, and they explained to me that we're going to give you this shot, but the long-term effects could be this. Not once.
That I was allowing other individuals to take care of Kurt Marsh's orthopedic injuries, and in looking back on it, I wish I had looked into and knew more and was kept more abreast on that.
The team doctors are put in a difficult situation because here your main goal is to get these guys back on the field Sunday because, you know, the team owner wants to win football games.
Let me tell you, the person that wants to be out on that field the most is the player. And you know, sometimes the trainers and the coaches have to protect the player from himself.
You didn't want to be the guy who would say, oh, I can't play, I've got an injury. As a matter of fact, on the Raiders, they would idolize the exploits of guys from the past like Jim Otto, and they would tell us about that he played with, you know, no knee, and he stuck his head back on once when he was out on the field and kept playing. You know, I mean, it was things like that that were seen as acts of heroism.
I would say that Jim Otto is the anomaly and not the rule, but at the same time, that is part of the risk that you expose yourself to.
Kurt Marsh has the ultimate prize for his pain, a 1983 Super Bowl ring. Ironically, he missed that entire season with a back injury. 4 years later, his chronically painful right ankle had grown so large he could not wear street shoes, much less football cleats. Only then did he seek a second medical opinion.
They did a series of x-rays, found out that the talus, the bone in the basically the fulcrum of her ankle joint was broken all the way through and had been grinding on itself in there. So that basically ended my career. I went through 13 surgeries in the next 6 years. The only recourse I had was to talk to the amputation specialist and have my leg cut off.
After the amputation, at the age of 34, Marsh applied for disability benefits. That experience, even for an athlete trained to battle in the trenches, proved agonizing.
They send back a determination. Go figure, 3-3. Owners say I'm not disabled, players say I am.
The first neutral physician who saw him said he could work at a sedentary occupation. He was sent to a second final and binding medical advisory physician who said, yes, he should receive this total and permanent degenerative benefit.
Well, we're paying out more in a month now just in disability than we used to pay out for all retirement benefits, including disability.
Prior to 1993, when the Players Union went after covering these kind of benefits, they were not acknowledged by the league as being a significant issue.
I think the thing that hurt him the most was not being able to do the things with our children. Knowing that he felt that way, I mean, it just tears you up inside.
He's just really tired a lot of times. I feel sorry for him that he's in a lot of pain sometimes, but it's just the way he is.
I think if you ask 99 out of 100 players, is it worth it, they'd all say yes. And they'd do it again, and they'd pay the price.
Feeling what I feel now, I'd probably do it all over again. I mean, the experience was so great for me.
I love the game. I would have played for nothing.
Being something that very few people get to do and to actually experience that. I am so thankful for that because it helped me understand that I can do anything I put my mind to.
He's just realized what's important in life, and I think our family has too. You know, you can lose a limb, but yet be more of a person.
When Outside the Lines continues.
I think it's worse pain mentally to go through something that I went through because of how it does eat you up inside, and you don't have an explanation for it or who or why is this happening.
ATT man, he's my brother. He was always on the phone, always calling his sweeties.
C-A-L-L-A-T-T.
He had issues.
For the same low rate every minute, everywhere, dial 1-800-CALL-ATT for collect calls.
The largest airline on Earth isn't an airline. It's 14. Make that 15 airlines working together to make international travel easier.
Detective Joel Campbell is searching for a killer.
I worked the case for 3.5 years, attributed at least 11 homicides to him.
What's he doing in Chicago?
I assume he's still strangling young women.
Now, the man he couldn't stop
He's watching us right now.
has come calling
I'll send you a picture.
for his next victim.
You can have a day to try to find her.
The Watcher. Rated R. Starts Friday at theaters everywhere.
Now there's more reasons than ever to join AOL.
If I knew it was this easy, I would have started a long time ago.
There's an 800 number that you can call 24 hours a day.
On AOL, your privacy and security are always protected. There's no better time to join. America Online. So easy to use, no wonder it's #1.
Wallers is back in the major leagues, back from what doctors called an anxiety disorder that robbed him of the ability to find the plate with his 100-mile-an-hour fastball. As Jeremy Schaff reports, baseball has a number of similar stories. Men whose ability evaporated for no physical reason, leaving behind a psychological ache.
Ground ball, Knobloch is there. A little bit wide, Martinez unable to make the tag. And once again, the erratic throwing rears its ugly head.
How does Yankees second baseman Chuck Knobloch, a four-time All-Star, a three-time world champion, and a former Rookie of the Year, suddenly struggle to make throws many little leaguers could make? How does he cope with the embarrassment and the anguish? There are experts on the subject.
It was killing me on the inside. It just was eating at me, and I just got to the point I couldn't handle it no more. I didn't have the answers, and nobody else had the answers.
I ate it every night. I went home, I took it home with me, and I woke up with it.
It was a horrible time. I can't even begin to tell you how many nights at 4 o'clock in the morning I'd sit up in my backyard and say, why? Why is this happening?
Kevin Soche, Mackey Sasser, and Steve Blass never played second base, but they all know what Knobloch is going through. Soche won a World Series ring with the Phillies in 1980. In 1981, with the Tigers, he was one of the most effective relief pitchers in baseball. By August 1982, he could no longer throw strikes, and he was out of the majors, never to return. Sasser, a catcher, spent 9 seasons in the major leagues. Plagued for years by an inability to throw the ball back to the pitcher, he retired in 1995. A hero of the 1971 World Series, Blass was the runner-up for the Cy Young Award in 1972. He started the following season 3-3.
And then all of a sudden, I just was not able to throw the ball where I wanted to. And I'd gone through control problems before, situational things where you just work your way out of it. You work on the side, you adjust some mechanics. And I thought that that's what it was, no more than that. And it just, it never got any better.
Soche's decline was equally sudden and equally perplexing.
Oh, I remember to this day exactly what happened and where it was and who I was facing. It was in Oakland. Tony Armas was the hitter. I threw a pitch that went behind him, and I thought to myself, that's weird. Threw another one, went behind him. Threw 2 more pitches and walked him.
Soche was never again an effective pitcher. Unlike Blass and Soche, Sasser developed problems before he reached the majors, when a shoulder injury made it impossible for him to throw the ball back to the pitcher with any velocity.
I started flipping the ball back, and for some reason I could never get out of flipping the ball back.
The shoulder healed, but Sasser's psyche did not. His first few seasons in the majors, he successfully hid his problem. But when he started to play more regularly, it became apparent to everyone.
There are players who go through something, and it is public humiliation. And this incident, this time when this happened to them, is carried forward with them so that they become, in many cases, severely dysfunctional.
Sports psychologist Harvey Dorfman has worked for both the Oakland Athletics and the Florida Marlins. The author of The Mental Game of Baseball, Dorfman is currently employed by baseball super agent Scott Boras.
How much have you seen these guys suffer?
Oh, it's, you know, I've seen the suffering. I've dealt with the suffering. I've been there, you know, when I was with teams and in uniform and in the dugouts, and it's palpable. It can break your heart.
Heartbreaking because athletes with mental blocks, more than those with physical injuries, are often subjected to ridicule by fans and the media. Heartbreaking because they are left with nothing and no one to blame except themselves.
If my career had been cut short by a bad arm and a shoulder problem, elbow problem, it would have been a lot easier. There's something you can point to. To this day, I don't know why I stopped being able to pitch effectively in the major leagues.
It wasn't life or death, but it was, to me, it was something that I was gifted with all my life, to be able to play baseball. I mean, I always could hit better than everybody, and I had the better arm. And it was just something that I didn't want my career to end that way, you know? It was just, it was, to me, cruel.
I wished I could have played longer in the major leagues. But as far as regrets, when I decided to get out and quit, no. I wanted to keep my sanity. And it was eating me alive inside.
You think you would have lost your sanity if you'd continued?
I think so. That's how bad it was eating at me.
Sasser felt the same relief when he finally gave up.
Just waking up knowing, man, I can go have a cup of coffee or some breakfast or something and not have to worry about going to that park and throwing that baseball back to the pitcher. And, you know, that's a shame to have to feel that way, but that's the way I basically felt.
The condition that afflicted Blass, O'Shea, Sasser, and now Chuck Knobloch has come to be known as Steve Blass disease for its first widely publicized victim. And whenever a new victim is diagnosed, reporters and general managers turn to those who have already suffered.
Every time this comes up, people say, why don't you call them? Why don't you talk to them? And I say to them, I'm the last person that they want to hear from because I didn't get over it.
A lot of people call me to try to solve this problem, and I can't solve it. If I could solve it, I'd be still playing.
As much pain as the game caused them, Blass, O'Shea, and Sasser are all still in baseball. Blass is a Pirates broadcaster, O'Shea a scout, and Sasser the coach at a junior college. And unlike Lou Gehrig, Blass didn't lose his life to the disease that bears his name. He, like the other victims of Steve Blass disease, lost only a career.
There's all kind of horrible things that can happen to your life, but I simply couldn't play baseball anymore. And it wasn't fun, but life goes on.
When Outside the Lines continues.
That's the bizarre thing in all of this. The pain that was once there because the arm was inflicted with the bicep tendon tear, with the cancer, and the fall and breaking my arm, all of that I don't remember is now taken away. It's gone. And the phantom pain that's left behind is what is very real.
You know, ideas and inventions come from people in all walks of life, and most of the century's top inventions came from individuals, not companies. Do you have an idea for a new product or invention? Are you interested in trying to submit your idea to companies for a good faith review and in trying to patent it as well? If so, Invention Submission Corporation has information to help you get started. ISC is America's largest inventor service firm with over 50 offices nationwide. Call this toll-free number now to see how to get this free information. The information includes forms to assure confidentiality, a form to record and date your idea, plus an informative brochure that explains how to submit your idea to companies through ISC's data bank and how to apply for a patent. Even if you only have an idea for improving an existing product, you'll want to call now for ISC's free information.
For your free information, call Invention Submission Corporation at 1-800-554-9000. That's 1-800-554-9000.
Tomorrow, the playoff race continues. First, it's a battle in Boston. Giambi and the A's take on Nomar and the Sox in a crucial AL wildcard clash. Then, things heat up in the South as the D-backs head to Atlanta. Finley and Gonzalez, Chipper and Andrew. The NL's top teams slug it out. It's the road to the playoffs. Oakland, Boston at 7 on ESPN. Arizona, Atlanta at 7:30 on ESPN2. Tomorrow.
Outside the Lines, no pain, no game, is presented by 1-800-CALL-ATT.
The doctor said outside of a miracle, you'll never pitch again. Okay, the odds are against me.
That was the prognosis in late 1988, after doctors removed a tumor from Dave Dravecki's left arm. The one that made him an all-star was San Diego in 1983 and a key reliever in the '84 World Series. But this was 1988. And Dravecki had just finished his 8th year in the majors and his 2nd with the Giants. This was 1988, and Dravecki had cancer.
For me, it was, God, give me the strength to endure this journey. I don't even know what I'm up against. I don't know what pain is involved in this process, physically and emotionally. All I know is I'm scared.
The journey back began in January 1989, though, to get the cancer, the doctors took out half the deltoid muscle, which reduced its function by 95%.
I didn't sit in some rocking chair and say, okay, God, I want to pitch on August 10th, 1989. Now get me there. There was a lot of hard work that went into it. And quite frankly, that was probably the most painful part of the journey for me, because the physical therapy was grueling. At first, I couldn't even lift a weight. I couldn't lift my arm. The therapist originally had to come over, grab my arm, and literally take me through ranges of motion where they were breaking adhesions from the surgery. And I mean, it was so painful. I was like, stop.
By midsummer, he was back on the mound, pitching and winning 3 complete games in the minor leagues. On August 10th, Dravecky faced the Cincinnati Reds. On that magical afternoon, he was brilliant, carrying a 1-hit shutout into the 8th inning. Tiring, he gave up a 3-run homer before giving way to Steve Bedrosian, who saved Dravecky's 4-3 win.
That was without a doubt the greatest evening of my life, or greatest afternoon. You know, beating the Cincinnati Reds that day.
But 5 days later, in Montreal, in the 6th inning, an image that still knots the stomach of anyone who witnessed it. The humerus, the bone connecting his shoulder to the elbow, snapped.
That was the second greatest thing that ever happened to me. And that may seem really bizarre. Take away the pain, because I didn't think that was a great thing that was happening to me. I mean, that hurt. But when I look back on that moment in my life, when I was laying on the ground with a broken arm, all I can think about was that God was using baseball as a stepping stone for something much more important that I was going to do in my life.
By the end of the year, Dravecky learned that cancer was back. With unwavering support from his wife Janice and their young children, Tiffany and Jonathan, he tried to beat it again. But in doing so, his left arm became a useless appendage. And in June of '91, that arm, the one that gave him money and fame and a sense of identity, was amputated. Only the pain was left behind.
That's the bizarre thing in all of this. The pain that was once there because the arm was inflicted with the bicep tendon tear, with the cancer, and the fall and breaking my arm, all of that I don't remember is now taken away. It's gone. And the phantom pain that's left behind is what is very real. My hand is in a position where it's around a baseball. I'm in this position because I was in a sling for about 6 months before the amputation. So, you know, I'm feeling all of that.
Only when he sleeps, he says, is Dravecky pain-free. But through it all, with nothing but his faith to fight the struggles and the hurt, Dravecky doesn't wallow in self-pity and what might have been. Instead, he celebrates what is and what might be.
Even though it was a kind of pain that I wouldn't want, I discovered that it was an incredible gift. And here's the reason why. Most of my life, all I did was take. Now I went through pain. And the gift of pain was I came out realizing how important it is to give.
In Colorado Springs, Colorado, there is Dave Dravecky's Outreach of Hope, a ministry of encouragement, he says, to cancer patients and amputees worldwide. Though he's not an ordained minister, who better to help ease the suffering and the pain? Who better to understand?
Pain is not knowing whether or not you can continue doing something you love more than anything else on the face of this earth. Pain is the constant reminder every day of an arm that I used to have that is no longer there. And I'm reminded of it because of phantom pain. You know what? That is how I define pain. It's phantom, and yet it's very real. And sometimes it hurts a lot.
For all the war stories and the scars and the residual aches, the recognition of the toll that these games exacted on their bodies, perhaps this is most remarkable about pain's presence in sports. Not a single athlete that we spoke with, not one, regretted the Faustian bargain they made, a career of sports glory for a life of pain. For Outside the Lines, I'm Bob Lee.
Outside the Lines is a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For more, log on to ESPN.com.